Indeed, the Lord is compassion and love. But that notwithstanding, the message of the gospel is very direct. And the conclusive aspect of that gospel tells us this day, the amount you measure out is the amount you will be given. In Latin, it is said, nemo dat quod non habet. Nemo dat quod non habet. Nobody gives what he does not have. Nobody gives what he or she doesn't have. Which means at all times, our commitment to the reality of what is supposed to be as God's children is to make every conscious effort to put into practice the things that is expected of us as God's children. Now, we have always been hearing God's message every day. But of all the message of the gospel and every message that we have ever heard in our lives as Christians, today's message is one of those most difficult ones. And I tell you, one of the most difficult ones, because today God is pushing us to take Christianity to the next level. It is good not to tell a lie, not to get angry, not to gossip, not to do wrong things, not to do that, not to do that. But today, Jesus is changing the commandment and telling us, do this. The commandment has always been, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. Now, Jesus is telling us today, this is what we have to do. Jesus is being pragmatic about our Christian consciousness. And the Christian consciousness today, he itemized principles that we must imbibe if truly we were sincerely to say we are children of God. And I'm telling you, sisters and brothers, today's zone is hard. And when I say today's zone is hard, is that the natural human inclination has three things in every human being. No matter how you want to say you're a child of God, you're a Christian, the humanity in us, in every human being, there are three basic characteristics that qualifies us as human beings. Irrespective of how you look at it. And if I ask one simple question, the answer is private. Have you ever been angry before? Have you ever get vexed? Have you ever quarreled? Have you ever got jealous? Now, I bring that to those basic characteristics I talk about. Number one, jealousy. Number two, envy. And number three, hatred. You see these three things? If you like, come to church 20 times a day. These three things are there. But what is helping us is the conscious effort that we have in Jesus Christ as Christians. That is what makes the difference. So it means that in the nature of us as human beings, we possess these three things. For those who are not aware, psychosomatic, psychologically, and otherwise, spiritually, these three things are in every human being in this world. But there is something that will also help us, that even in these three characteristics that defines humanity, there is what we call the natural law. The natural law becomes the natural principles that defines you as a human being, but flowing from the fact that we are created by God. And that natural law is what tells you the difference between what is good and what is bad. It is a natural principle and the natural law that tells you this is not right, this is good. In some other terms of psychology, they can call it conscience and other things. And one of the basic principles of morality, which is called ethics, is do good to others. If you know what you don't like, please don't do it to other people. And that is why it's like a norm. Do unto others what you will want others to what? Do to you. The second principle of ethics goes further. And in that extension is defining to us is that whatever it is that you know is not going to make other people happy, please don't do it. And now I bring these basic principles to connect to the mission and the statement of what Jesus is commanding all of us today. Now, as human beings that possess these three characteristics, you discover there is this tendency that you discover, because we've been asking this question: why are people wicked? Why are people envious? Why are people fighting us? Why are people not happy? The answer is obvious. It goes back to these three things I tell you. When people see that you are nobody, they don't bother with you. Your problem begins from the very day you are promoted, the very day you build a house, the very day you change something, the very day you make your hair, the very day you change your pants, the very day you start a foundation, the very day you buy a car, the very day you start something, all eyes will be on you. These things are in your workplace, they're in the family, they're in the church, they're in the community. There are people who have decided not to mind their business in this life. The only business they have is you. Looking for faults. Even inside the house of God. You are not happy because your brother or sister is the president, is the leader, is in the council, is at the head of the society. And because of that, you find it difficult to listen or to make things that will help that particular group to work. We create divide. We divide the whole place. We bring politics in everything. And that is the most sad part of it. Because today, everything is about politics. We don't want to hear the truth. And anybody who says the truth, catch him and kill him. He's not supposed to live. And this is where our problem is. The problem is not that the world God created is not good. The heaven we are looking for begins from here. But the humanity in us, the wickedness in us, have made the world to be so bad that some people wake up some days and they get vexed. Why did I wake? I should have died from sleep. I'm telling you, because sometimes you remember why a sister, a mother, a father, a brother, even with the same blood, will be thinking about your downfall. The only thing they are after is your downfall. When your life is mashed up and miserable, they are happy and they try to give you advice. And when you want to start progressing, they are angry, and every time they make trouble with you. Why? Because your life is getting better. There are people who the only thing they want is for people to always come every morning to bow to them. Who are you? Are you God? God has given all of us that courage and that principle to do good and to be better. And that is why I keep begging us. You see, friends in Christ, if you really want to be happy in this life, it's not because whether you're a priest or man of God or woman of God, or you go to church or you pray or you see vision. That is not what is important here. If you really want to be happy in this life, please be content with what you have. Stop looking the other way. If you like, let somebody go with private jet. Thank God for them, for their private jet. Don't put your eyes there, because that is where your problem will start. If somebody is eating 3 times a day and you have one, thank God for that one. Because you see, the person with 3 times may be having problems 3 times. And you that have one, you have one problem. Think about it. Why are we so wicked? And most times, we just want to be making lives miserable for other people. I speak this because I know so many of us, sometimes you don't feel like moving on. You don't see meaning in this life. I beg you again, don't let nobody, don't let anything in this life take away your happiness. Please, I beg us. The purpose of us being in God is to let us know that the devil will try. Jesus told us in the scriptures, he said, look, because they tried me, they will also try you. But he said something that always encouraged me. He said, I have overcome the world. And because I overcame the world, you can also overcome. And I want to let you know, we are overcomers. Go back to the memory lane. Look at the various times you were in a tight situation that there was no help. From nowhere, God saw you through. It's not because you are the good person. It's not because you have everything, but the compassionate presence of God in your life. And that is why God is telling us today, beyond love, we have to move to the next level, which is being compassionate. You can say you love, but you are not compassionate. Today, a lot of people profess love. I love you, I love you, I love you. That's not it. Are you compassionate when the real time to love? I want to let us know the secret of love is in times of hardship, is in times of crisis. But some people feel that love is only when things are okay. It is when there is problem that you will know whether love is true or not. But that notwithstanding, that is why we have to take it to the next level. Being compassionate. And Jesus is telling us something today that even as I'm talking to you, I'm just looking at how easy this thing could look. But it's not easy. And somebody just come to you, possibly because as a priest you are making a difference. And he openly warns you, I will deal with you. Let us see how far your prayer will take you. And you are seeing this person eyeball to eyeball. He's not hiding. He's not gossiping. He's telling you, I must make sure I bring you down. And you smile. I say, okay, let's see. So all about, the person is just asking questions, trying to find out trying to look for one way or the other. Or is it some of us who in the neighborhood, something happens to you, you are sick or something happens to you, and there is a situation, you've prayed, you've gone to the hospital, you are not seeing any solution. And one day, a neighbor or somebody in the family or somewhere just walking, you're trying me over that piece of land. I've not started. This is just the beginning. I will show you. And God tells you, please, forgive him or forgive her. No way. The human being in you will say what? No way. I go do back. That is a natural tendency in us. We react. We fight back. But Jesus is telling us today, the opening words of Jesus, he said to his disciples, I say to you who are listening, as if he knew that we are going to listen today too. So for those of us who are listening, Jesus is telling us today, he said, look, love your enemies. If I was to talk back to Jesus, I'll tell him, man, this one hard. Love your enemies. That same person who is monitoring you. That same person who is giving you pressure in the office. That same person who worked to make sure they sack you and put you out of job. You have no job. And every day you see that person pass and you're telling me forgive. It's hard. This one what? Hard. That person who is making life miserable in the community. Everything about you and your family, he wants to pull you down. But let us come to think about it. To say you're a child of God is not easy. To say you're a child of God means that you are already a trouble to the kingdom of darkness. And that is why the kingdom of darkness, Lucifer the devil, will use every method just to haunt you and frustrate you. You can see that happening in our homes, in our relationships, in our marriages, in the family, in the church, in politics. People fighting each other. You think it's you? No. It's the demons that have come together to say, look, we are going to mash you up. And sad enough, most of us have allowed those demons to mash us up. And we're busy running around looking for solution. The first solution is you. How are you relating with God? There are so many of us who don't relate to God until when there is trouble. And I find that very difficult. And that is why most of the times I try to encourage us. Learn how to defend yourself. Because when 1 Peter in chapters number 5 told us, he said the enemy, the devil, is prowling around like what? A roaring lion looking for who to devour. But Peter went further to say what you must do. He said, stand firm, strong to withstand the enemy. So do not let the enemy come over, but you have to stand to confront the enemy. And Jesus gave us a perfect example when he had to tell Peter, when Peter was telling him, look, God, this is not going to happen to you. How are you going to die? How did this happen to you? I am going to defend you. Jesus looked at Peter, whom he has said is to be the leader of the church. And Jesus looked at him and said, get behind me, what? Satan. When certain things are standing on your way, you have to tell yourself, instead of to take pressure, instead of to take anger, instead of you to be provoked by anybody, tell that situation or that person, get behind me, what? Satan. That is the way forward. You don't let nothing stress you. They will say, because I've always told you, you do good, they will complain. You do bad, they will complain. You do nothing, they will still complain. So why not do good and let them keep complaining? And that is what is more important. Some of us have not succeeded in our careers. We have not succeeded in our businesses. We have not even succeeded to grow in the spirit. I want to tell us, to grow in the spirit is not church attendance. To grow in the spirit is beyond attending church and receiving communion. To grow in the spirit is to be conscious of the fact that when you are tempted and challenged by the devil, you don't let the devil change who you are. Many of us have become who we are not because of people. As I speak now, there are many of us in this church who are not talking to each other. As I speak to you now, there are many of us in this church who have not even gone to visit their fellow brothers and sisters because they are not in their group. As I speak in this church, there are many of us who are grieving and angry, and even the person they are angry for or about is not aware. And they are dying slowly, while the person they are angry for is laughing and playing and going his business. And we hurt it. Why take pressure? There are so many of us, because of power, because of position, we are ready to do anything. Why? Even in the things of church. We are ready to spoil people's name. We are ready to gossip people. We are ready to wrong people. We are ready to bring people down because they are either in the position that we did not get. Let us say there is election tomorrow now. You will see the drama. People running about as if it is about yellow and green. Church election. They're moving house to house, knocking. Sister, I want to be. Please stay my side. Just look at how it starts. And forget that this is about service. Jesus tells us all authority comes from God, and they are primarily for service. And I want to give you one of the ways you can survive and overcome pressure, whether in the office, in the family, in the relationship. Do not do things because you are doing for somebody. Do things because you are looking at God and doing what you have to do, and not bothering what people say or what people think. When you do things for the sake of God, you will survive more and have more years. But when you do things for people, you only end up pleasing people. And that is why everything you do, you go to ask questions. Sister, brother, was he okay? Why will you wait for human recommendation? Is he okay? Is he that good? Is he fine? You don't need anybody's statement. What statement you need is the statement from above. And when the statement from above is confirmed, at a stage, even those who are fighting you will end up clapping for God. That is how this thing works. And that is why you can see, go back to the first reading. From our first reading, you could see the true picture of wickedness. Saul, who is the king of Israel. He is still the king. Nobody has told him that he's not the king. But from the very day David was anointed, David's problem began when his success started to manifest. There are many of us who, when we had not even a dollar, who when we have no money, no food, no job, nobody cares about you. We suffered. And in our suffering, we kept moving patiently, taking loan to build house, taking loan to do so many things. Nobody knew what we are going through. Even up till now, we are still paying our loan. And people are angry over what we have. You know the system. If you're angry that somebody is moving with a bad ride, go and take bad jet. You know the system. Go and discuss with the bank and take bad jet. And leave people alone. You know the system. So why are you angry? Because you should know when people are moving and doing certain things, you know the system. You know that these people must have gone extra mile to borrow. It's not free. So if you think you are strong, go and borrow too and start paying the loan. Then you understand what life is all about. And now you discover this man set out with not just one, not just two, 3,000 soldiers to look for one person. Our first reading today, first book of Samuel, chapter 26. Why will Saul do that? The problem of David started from the day he killed Goliath. The same Goliath that would have killed everybody. David embraced God. God walked through David. David didn't do it with his power. It is through the power of God. And from that very day, his problem started. Many of you, including some of us in ministry, we are suffering today. I don't call it suffering. We are enjoying today because the jealousy of people over what you are and who you are has become a problem to them, not a problem to you. And I keep telling people, when you see a gift in your sister or brother, be happy. Some of us, our blessings are not happening because we have been angry with people's successes. And I tell you how this thing works. Because what goes around comes around. When you are happy for people, happy things will happen for you. When you are angry with people, you stop your own blessings. So many of us go and check why your prayer is not working. Some of us, our prayer is not working because of the kind of bad mind we have. We are not happy with people. Then how would the heaven open? And sometimes, maybe when we are praying, I look at the ceiling. I didn't say you should start looking at the ceiling. Because sometimes as we pray, the prayer is supposed to move and go to God. But what do you notice? As the prayer goes, it gets to the ceiling and it stops. Say, no, this one not going. Because some of the prayer may be, God, kill him, kill her. And God say, no, go back to her. So that's why some of us, we squeeze in. Just look at ourselves. Sometimes we are not fine. And even if you go to the doctor is confused because they can't see anything. But the only thing I know that they cannot see that is happening to you is that your heart is squeezing. Your mind is filled with a lot of load. Some of us are not old, but we are already bending. Why are we bending? We are bending because we're carrying people. We no longer carrying one person. We're carrying community. We're carrying load, overload. Take away those overloads so that you can straight up. Some of us, we're bending now. Because the load too much. We can't stand the load anymore. Spirituality without God, without love, without compassion, will take us nowhere. Just imagine what jealousy can cause, what hatred can cause, what envy can cause. Why? That was not even enough. The other reason was when they went to war and came back. People were clapping for David in tens of thousands and for Saul in thousands. And Saul get offended. And those things are happening now. Jealousy. Jealousy. People are ready to kill to stay in power. People are ready to kill, take life because they want something. What sense does it make? You get something you've been looking for and you're not happy. So what's the essence? 3,000 people just for one person. And where were they? They were exactly in the wilderness of Ziph. I look at the wilderness of Ziph. Those moments when you feel abandoned. Those moments when you don't have anybody to speak for you. So people think they can take advantage of you. They can molest you. They can abuse you. They can frustrate you. And you don't have a voice. Nobody can speak to you. And you know the bad part? They will tell you, I will deal with you and nobody will save you. Oh God. God has really seen something. I will handle you. I will frustrate you. Nobody will save you. We are in charge of the government. We are in charge of the church. We are in charge of the family. We are in charge of this community. What we say, what happen. We are in charge of this job. If you make nonsense, we fire you. Oh, God has seen something. And God will be laughing. The same person making that noise was nothing, nobody. Pride, they say, goes before a fall. I speak this because of so many of us who are going through trials. So many of us who are suffering silently. So many of us who cry all the time because we feel there is nobody to speak for us. Sister, brother, pick up yourself. Take courage and believe in the God you serve. You are not wasting your time. Your prayer is not in vain. Is it that prayer you have been praying and asking God to stand for you? Some of you have been hated in your office because you always stand there to speak for the truth. There are many workers who are helpless. And even when the workers' union is supposed to speak for them, the workers' union takes side of those who will provide for them. These are the things happening everywhere in the world. It's about interest. And when nobody has anything, people just flow with the flow. They just move so, even when the flow is not working. But one of the things I want you to understand is that God knows who you are. God will always come in your wilderness of Ziph and save you. And you see what happened. When Saul was busy looking for David, David and Abishai entered their camp unknown to them. And the same Saul, with all his 3,000 soldiers, were snoring. They were not just sleeping, they were snoring. And Abishai said, what are you waiting for now? God has given you your enemies. Strike! Finish this thing one time. David did not spare Saul because he loved him or because he's compassionate. I want you to look at the reason why David spared Saul. David spared Saul because he fears God. Because God first. Because he knows this person is also created by God but has lost control. This person has lost parts completely. So David is looking at God. For the sake of God, David had to become compassionate and had to love. And told Abishai, don't do that. Touch not the Lord's anointed. David has the fear of God. And a child of God, friends in Christ, even to that brother or sister who doesn't want to have anything to do with you, who is always fighting you, you need to move with the compassionate and the heart mercy of God to let go. Today I want us, let go and let God. That is a formula we have to imbibe. When people try to turn you into who you are not, leave the fight for God. You know why some of us have problems is that we want to fight for God as if we can defend God. Certain things we cannot help. Leave it for God and watch the drama. Just sit down somewhere and watch the movie or what will happen. Pick up popcorn and be chewing and watch what will happen later. Don't stress. Don't fight it. David didn't do that. They just took his staff, took everything, and were showing him the next day. And he was more confused. And that is why the only way out is for us to look at the second Adam, as the second reading tells us today. The first Adam is the Adam that became a living soul. But the last Adam has become a life-giving what? Spirit. That last Adam is Jesus Christ. And if we can follow the model of Jesus Christ, then we have to be compassionate and we have to also love. Now, with these readings, I've been able to come out with what I call 4 foundational pains every Christian must bear. If you say you're a Christian, you're a child of God, there is what I call 4 foundational pain every Christian must bear. It is just from this gospel. From this gospel, you could see, number 1 pain, love your enemies. Love what? Your enemies. It sounds weird, but that is what God is telling us today. The question is, how? The second one is, do good to those who hate you. Do good to what? Those who hate you. It sounds again very difficult, but that is one of the pain. If you check in the family, in the home, in marriages, in relationships, there are many times that persons that you trusted so much have hurt you severely. They've caused something that you don't need to talk to them again. Whether you're your parents or whether they are your children. Sometimes you feel like dealing with them and take out and change your surname. But for the sake of God, you are still there. Because blood is thicker than water. That notwithstanding, that is why the third one says, bless those who curse you. Can you imagine those opening their mouth, running their mouth and saying all kinds of things. And you're telling them, sister, God bless you. Brother, God bless you. Even when you are crying, say, bless you. And you can imagine here, Jesus telling us something. If they slap you on one side, turn the other side for another slap. That's totally his heart. Can you imagine? Hot slap. So if they slap you on one side, please turn. That's what they're telling us today. When they slap you one, turn the other. It means that sometimes Christianity, for you to be compassionate and for you to love as a Christian, you have to look stupid. But you're not stupid. But that does not mean carelessness. It doesn't mean that you have to take all insults. You must also learn to defend yourself. At some point, when they were questioning Jesus, are you the king of the Jews? He said, it is you who said it. Jesus had to also respond. So sometimes people take this literally and turn it the other way around. People use it in every way. Some use it to abuse people. Say, after all, Bible says, if I slap you, turn the other side, let me slap you again. Defend yourself, but apply wisdom. And the next one, it says, pray for those who abuse you, which is difficult. But Jesus is telling us to be a Christian means we have to go the extra mile. But look at the dimensions. I have come up with some dimensions, which is also the conclusion of the gospel reading. The first dimension to this foundation, 1, generosity without boundaries is what we must have. We must be generous without expecting, without thinking, without in any way giving condition. Today, a lot of us are in love or we're loving conditionally. And that is why most of those love don't last. Because it is about gain. So he said, when you want to be generous without boundaries. The second one is give without expectation. So you must not have condition in your giving. Otherwise, it is no longer giving. There is something you have in your mind. Again, you must have what we call a sense of compassion. Again, you must not judge. A lot of us were too judgmental. And he said, don't judge so that you will not be judged as well. Then the last one, or one of the points here, is learn to forgive. Learn to what? Forgive. It will be important to test and experiment the assignment for this message today. The assignment for this message today is that when you leave this church, pick up your phone, call that person that you have vowed you will never talk to in this life. Is church hearing me? Yes, Father. Thank you. After today, when you go back home, move to that neighbor that is considered as evil man or woman and greet that person. Are you going to try it? Yes, Father. Thank you very much. You see, it means doing something that is difficult, but you start. Take the lead. As husbands, as wives, as parents, and as children, there are many of you who are not living in good terms. Go as you reach home now. Call each other and say, to be frank with you, it's not because of what Father said, but I want to tell you my mind. I've not been happy with you since 2 years ago. And you didn't know. So you can start a process today. For those who have been miserable to each other, pick up your phone if they are far. If they are close, go. Speak your mind. Because sometimes some of us are hurting, but the other person doesn't know what we are dealing with. Say it as it is and keep quiet. At least you have taken away something that is eating you, causing so many complications in your head. In all, what do I want to say to them? Hatred and jealousy come as a result of compassion. Saul hated David to the point of killing him. One of the things we must finalize with today, never carry over grudges. Never what? Carry over grudges. Be ambassadors of forgiveness. Learn to be happy for people's progress. When people are happy, be happy with them. When people are doing well, be happy with them, because that is how you are opening your own road. And above all, never be a party to the cry of an innocent people. Please, I conclude with this one because I know it's important. I beg you, no matter how you hear people, you see people discussing how to run people, don't join them. Don't what? Join them. Because tomorrow, people will do it back. Don't make anybody cry because of you. Because when people cry because of you, because of what you are doing to them, God sees that cry and that will wait for you. It goes around. So when you find people are planning, concocting on how to deal with people, take yourself out of that group so that you don't share from the problem of that group. Some of us are suffering today without knowing that part of our problem is not because we did anything by ourselves, but because we are party to those who frustrated somebody, and that person cried and said, God, be my witness, and whoever those who are part of this problem, let everything go to them. And today, 50 years, 20 years, 15 years, 10 years later, when you have forgotten, the problem has come back. And you are busy running churches, moving to Ubia, going different places, looking for solution. The Ubia man tell you, I see nothing. Pastor tell you, I see nothing. Doctor tell you, I see nothing. But you are dying. Check yourself very well. There are people you have hurt. There are people you are making sad. I speak that because some of us who are directors, who are leaders, who are managers, there are people we are frustrating and we don't know. Let us ask God for mercy. And for those of us who are also members, let us please stop marching down others. I don't forget a story. A man ran to the house of God. He was crying, oh God, help me. And he ran to the altar. Help me because my enemies are with cutlass. They want to kill me. They are 20. They said they go kill me today. God kept quiet. God, are you there? God kept quiet. God, I'm speaking. If you know you are God, answer yes. And God said, yes, I am here. I said, God, what will I do? He said, nothing. The only thing I will do is for those 20 people not to kill you. Look under your leg and your machete. You are holding 200 people. The same man who was running away from 20 people is marching how many people? 200. Look under your foot, not in the church. When you get home, look under your leg. How many people are you marching? Let us stand so that we don't march more people.